There have been a lot of hacks here in the DeFi space throughout the last year, and today we're going to be going over the largest hack that has happened year to date. In case you're new here or new to the Web3 space, my name is Anthony. I'm with Decentralized dApps Group, or DDG, where we teach you how to become a Solidity expert, as well as how to audit smart contracts. If you like what you watch, please like and subscribe for more content. Today we're going to be going over the Euler Finance hack, how they were hacked for almost 197 million, and how they ultimately ended up getting their those funds recovered. So back in March in 2023, Euler Finance, which is a lending and borrowing DeFi app, was hacked for 197 million. What the attacker did was they were able to borrow money, then liquidate their own position at a discount. This all happened with an exploit in the donate to reserve functions. We'll go into a little bit more detail into what specifically that incurred, but ultimately the attacker was able to perform this attack multiple times on different liquidity pools and walk away with quite a large chunk of funds. For those of you who don't know, Euler Finance is a lending and borrowing platform with multiple smart contracts. What happens is when a user either borrows or lends funds, either an E token, which represents assets, or a D token, which represents debt, gets minted for that specific token. With that being said, we're going to be focusing on the donate to reserves function and how that hack actually was implemented. A quick high-level overview of what actually happened during the attack is the hacker used roughly 20 transactions within a single block amongst 3 different Ethereum addresses: an exploiter contract, a borrower, and liquidator. The Euler exploit contract, or the main one, borrowed 30 million DAI from a flash loan and then sent it to the borrower account. The borrower deposited 20 million DAI into Euler, which then minted 19.6 million eDAI, which is the asset token for the borrower. The borrower then minted 195 million eDAI in response, and in response to that, Euler minted dDAI, the debt token. Here, the attacker minted about 10 times the amount that he had deposited, and then the attacker then paid off 10 million of the loan with the remaining 10 million DAI from the initial flash loan. This allowed the attacker to mint more eDAI. The borrower then minted another 195 million eDAI, bringing the total up to 391 million, plus the 19.6 million from the original deposit for a total of 411 million. Euler minted 200 million DAI, bringing the total debt to 400 million. From here, the attacker sent 100 million eDAI to a null address, effectively destroying it, which is where we'll actually be focusing on the donate reserves function. That's where this actually instituted. Once they donated to reserves, it pushed their liquidity health down and made them over-collateralized and targeted for a liquidation. After they were over-collateralized, their own liquidator contract comes in and calls a liquidate function on the borrower's assets. Euler essentially took 254 million from the borrower and sent the debt to the liquidator, which then minted another 5 million DAI and sent this to the liquidator. Euler then transferred roughly 310 million eDAI from the borrower to the liquidator. From this point, the borrower had no eDAI or DAI left and was left with 146 million in dDAI debt, while the liquidator had 310 million and only 260 million in dDAI debt. After liquidation, the liquidator redeemed 38 million eDAI for the 38.9 million DAI, and then transferred 30 million of it back to the Euler exploit contract to pay back that original flash loan of 30 million, leaving a total of 8.9 million DAI for the attacker. From that point, the attacker then repeated this attack for wrapped Bitcoin, staked Ether, and USDC for a total of $197 million. This is the infamous donate to reserves function. While there's a lot of code here that you don't really need to understand fully, the hack happened where there wasn't this final check right here, where they required that the collateral value is greater than the liability value. Ultimately, what ended up happening is the user was able to use this, or the attacker was able to use this donate to reserves function to push their the base discount for the collateral down as low as possible, which allowed the third contract to come in and liquidate, only having to repay its own debt as opposed to the full debt of the initial attacker contract. A quick breakdown of the impact: there was 197 million siphoned from the smart contract, over 8 million DAI, 8.5 million wrapped Bitcoin, 135 million staked ETH, and 33 million USDC. For those of you who are trying to be security auditors or white hat hackers, we don't support any black hats here, but a few lessons learned as well as recommendations. Even audited contracts can have vulnerabilities. As we actually saw, Sherlock Audits claimed responsibility for missing the vulnerability and actually paid out $4.5 million to Euler. Also, to protect from these attacks, you have to think outside of the box and think creatively, not just what the standard reentrancy attack is, but how to manipulate the numbers to not only perform checks and require statements in the traditional checks and effects patterns, but also at the end of function to ensure proper results. And I think that's the key takeaway here, is not just performing these standard checks right at the start of the functions, but also to do your require statements and assertions throughout the contract to make sure, or throughout the function of the contract, to make sure everything is implemented correctly and accurately. Thank you to everyone who stayed to the end. Thanks for watching and reading along. I'll be uploading these slides to the website for you to download and follow along next time you want to watch through it. If you need any assistance with building dApps, smart contracts, auditing smart contracts, have any questions, video suggestions, please feel free to reach out via our website, direct messages, or in the comments below. Thanks for watching.